Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. And this Saturday, UFC Atlanta going down. Big welterweight main event between Kamaru Usman and surgeon Joaquin Buckley. And in the co-main at women's flyweight, we got Rose Namajunas taking on Miranda Maverick. Two former champs there in the big spots. Pretty decent card, man. I'm expecting a lot of finishes. Excited to get into it here with you. As always, recapping last week, finished up 2.39 units. Did miss on the Sean O'Malley bet. I did not expect it to really go that way, but looking at the green there, over 2.5 in the Pfeiffer Gastelum fight, bit of a sweat there early, but kind of once they settled into the fight, kind of felt like it was going to hit that over pretty easy. And then Sang Yu and Holland win inside the distance. Both of those cashed pretty easily there. Silva points handicap, even balled up to a plus 5.5, got his ass whooped, man. And then pretty nice little parlay I hit for plus 168 for a half unit. Fight goes to decision in the Medeiros-Choinsky fight. Was tempted to lay that straight because I really liked that. Was talking to you about it all week. Opted to parlay it with the under 1.5. Felt like Murzakanov was going to go out there and do exactly what he did. So, again, 2.39 units on a little bit of a streak, looking to keep it rolling and toss it over to you real quick.
Yeah, so I ended up just scraping by with plus 0.1 unit. I was also on the Sean O'Malley line. Didn't put up a good performance at all, to be honest with you. I had fight ends by TKO. Ju Sung Yu fight at plus 130. That one hit pretty easily. Then I had the Lipsky Kong Wang fight, doesn't go the distance. Honestly, it didn't look like it had a chance the entire time after round one. Right. I could tell where that fight was going, I guess there was a leg kick where she dropped her, but outside of the leg kicks, wasn't a very violent fight at all. And then Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison, fight ends by sub. I got that at plus money as well. I think that was my best play of the night. Either girl, I think that was the most likely path to victory. And getting it plus money, I really enjoyed that. Ended up 2% ROI, 0.1. And, at the end of the day, I will take a winning night no matter how it looks.
Right.
Moving on to the first fight of the night, we are in the flyweight division where we have Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Jamie Lynn Horth. I think that this has got Jamie Lynn Horth written all over it. Vanessa Demopoulos just got kind of, in my opinion, fraud checked. I know she was on a little win streak before the Talita Alencar fight, but we were both on Alencar. We knew that she was a more dominant grappler. We knew that Vanessa Demopoulos isn't a good enough fighter to not accept position whenever somebody winds up on top of her. And I think that Jamie Lynn Horth is going to be just a little bit too physical, probably ends up on top more often than not. And I think the line reflects it. So no big dog shot to start off the night. I think Jamie Lynn Horth probably takes this pretty easily. I'm expecting 30-27 or even her to find a finish, but neither of those I'm trying to get involved with.
Yeah, easy pass for me to start the night as well. Vanessa's a tough girl, man. Tries hard, active, and she's made fights close enough where she's stolen fights that I don't think she deserves before, but I do think she's at a significant grappling physicality disadvantage. These two line up. Honestly, this line might even balloon up more. I like Jamie Lynn Horth, physicality, grappling upside. So you're winning a pretty dominant decision myself. The fight I'm pretty interested in here at 170, though, Phil Rowe taking on Angelusa. 1.6 unit shot on Phil Rowe to win 2 units, plus 125, plus 124. That's what I got that at. So a bit of closing line value. I mean, truth be told, man, both these guys are equal in experience. Phil Rowe fighting some UFC veterans before, and Neil Magny and Jake Matthews. I think that only makes you better. But truth be told, man, I think it's like a 50-50 fight. If I line this one, I had Phil Rowe about a minus 120, minus 125. I think I'm pushing 9-10% edge here, truth be told. I like all the athleticism, the size on the Phil Rowe side. I think you could, win battles in the clinch up against the fence. In terms of finishing upside, both on the feet and by submission, that's all Phil Rowe. Jake Matthews fight, man, nice sweep off his back. I like what I see from Phil Rowe. The reason it's not a super, big shot, more than 2 units, the cardio, at times can be a little bit questionable. I think he cuts a lot of weight to make 170. And Angelusa, that is one thing he typically has is a pretty decent gas tank, but I think he can be hurt both on the feet. I think he can be submitted. I like Phil Rowe for a lot of reasons here. 1.6 units to win 2.
Yeah, so first disagreement of the night, not with a ton of conviction, but I do like Angelusa here. Mostly because I've tried betting on Phil Rowe a couple times now, and he just doesn't have the fight IQ for me to want to back him. I think Angelusa is a little bit more physical. I think he hits a little bit harder. And then you talked about cardio being in his favor as well. All those things are enough for me to not want to bet on Phil Rowe. Like I said, I think that he's, probably shouldn't be in under the UFC banner. I think Angelusa is also kind of fringe UFC caliber, but he's had a couple of tough matchups that I didn't expect him to win. I wouldn't expect Phil Rowe to win those fights either. So yeah, I've got Angelusa here. I just think that he'll have the bigger moments in the fight, and ultimately it'll win in the decision. Even though has he ever won a decision?
Yeah, I would imagine. I think
he,
Angelusa is a decision machine. Yeah, 4-4 to the decision.
Okay. Never been finished. So never been finished. That's what it was. But yeah, so I've got Angelusa here, but it's not a lot of conviction. I think that it's lined appropriately, and you taking the dog shot, it makes sense line value wise. Moving down to the bantamweight division, Ricky Simone taking on Cameron Smotherman. Oddly enough, Cameron Smotherman, he comes into the UFC fighting Jake Hadley as a huge underdog and comes out on top. They match him up against Sergey City the next fight. The line probably, overcompensated for his win over Hadley, and he gets pretty soundly worked by City. But against Ricky Simone here, it's probably his toughest fight to date. I think that this is a really tough matchup for him. He's pretty decent, but he is, does have a questionable chin. One thing I do like about him is he works the body really well. We saw that in the Hadley fight where most of his combinations started at the body and then finished up top. And I think those strikes down the middle, the body work, that will work in his favor against Simone. But I just think Simone, even though he's been kind of up and down recently, in these type of matchups, he usually comes out on top, and I think he has the work ethic and the fight IQ to get the job done, even if it's not super pretty. But I do expect him to get the win, probably by decision.
Yeah, I cashed Ricky Simone as a pretty decent underdog last time out against Javid Basharat. I hope he doesn't fall in love with the hands here after a big knockout like he got last time, because I think he has a significant wrestling grappling advantage and significant pace cardio advantage. I think he could really work Cameron Smotherman here in the grappling. So I like Ricky Simone. Wouldn't be shocked if he were to find a late finish, but wouldn't be shocked if he puts together just a pretty clean decision as well. Moving dude, pretty good fight at men's 125. Cody Durden taking on Jose Ochoa. Going into tape, truth be told, I was like, Cody Durden, Atlanta guy, fought the way better competition, has the grappling upside, somebody I've backed as a dog before, triple the experience. It was like, Ochoa's got like twice the durability, twice the cardio, twice the striking. The line, the more I look into it, kind of does make sense. It's a tough fight for Cody Durden to take in his backyard. And he's in a tough spot with his back up against the wall, not looking good in his most recent one. So I got to imagine in his backyard with this recent run, Cody Durden's all in, make or break. So if you're taking the shot on him, I do think you're probably getting the best Cody Durden on Saturday. But dude cuts a lot of weight for 125, and I think this is going to be a very high-paced fight. And once we get over the 7.5, 8-minute fight, man, Jose Ochoa, pretty dangerous guy, man. I'm kind of looking at the sub prop on him. I know you said maybe even just a fight ends by sub, but you probably talk about. So, yeah, I kind of see maybe a finish here. Going to go Jose Ochoa, round 2, round 3.
Yeah, as I was breaking down this fight, I really expected to get a decent line on Ochoa, just knowing where the fight's taking place and having Cody Durden with a lot of experience. But no, for Ochoa coming into a pretty tough fight for his debut. I expected a better line, but I don't really want to pay almost 2-1 on him, given his inexperience. And you touched on it. I do think that the submission is really going to play a factor. Loner Kavanaugh, really tough matchup to start off. They're not doing him any favors is kind of what I meant. But yeah, I expect him to either find one of the entries of Cody Durden, find the neck of him with a guillotine, or Cody Durden to have success and possibly take his back. But the strikes that he throws up the middle, the knees up the middle. I do think that eventually down the line it's going to catch Durden. So fight ends by submission or just fight doesn't go to the decision is how I'd be looking to play this one. Moving up to the bantamweight class, we have Malcolm Wellmaker taking on Chris Moutinho. Another tough fight for Chris Moutinho in the UFC. The UFC did all they could to get Wellmaker on this card. They gave him pretty much a layup opponent. I think Chris Moutinho, he took the beating against Sean O'Malley, but he's been finished quite a bit. Most of his losses are by finish, and I think that Malcolm Wellmaker, he's patient enough. I know he's only 9-0, but he sits and waits on that shot, and I think he punches hard enough to actually finish Chris Moutinho, who has defensive liabilities. So yeah, give me Cameron Wellmaker here. I think probably by knockout. Not sure that we're going to get a line that's playable in any way, shape, or form, though. So just expect a highlight reel finish.
Well, he's sitting at minus 1,800. The under 1.5 is only minus 175 on DraftKings. I got it at minus 165. I did parlay it. Yeah, man, I think he puts Moutinho out in one. I think the athleticism, the power, the technique, everything. Yeah, I don't know how much more to add to it. I think Malcolm Wellmaker gets it done in round one with a knockout. Moving on up to 170, Michael Chiesa making his return, taking on Court McGee. Two old guys, two legends, man. Chiesa sitting comfy behind the desk nowadays. Court McGee, not really seeming like MMA is first thing on his mind. I don't think Chiesa is like the best, as they call Nail. I think when the going gets tough, he kind of looks for a way out, doesn't like to get hit very much, but I don't know how much he really has to worry about here with Court McGee. I think it's pretty washed on the feet, and I think Chiesa, honestly, is the way better grappler. I think he could get here and take him down and put in the body triangle and ride out significant top time. Court's never been submitted here in 35 fights, which makes it a little, I guess, hairy, a little tricky. But yeah, I'd never lay the juice, but I feel pretty confident that Chiesa gets the job done.
Yeah, man, I'm not sure. I mean, I definitely wouldn't play him at these odds. I think Court McGee, he's got pretty decent counter wrestling. Both these guys, not so much McGee, but Chiesa's kind of always been a quitter in my eyes, so I'd never bet him. Never bet him at favorite odds either. But yeah, I think that because we've seen Court McGee, not get submitted his entire career, it's tough to bank on that happening with 37-year-old Michael Chiesa. This is a favorable matchup, so I think as far as Michael Chiesa's last few matchups, this is yet another one that's decent at 170 pounds, which is a pretty deep division. So yeah, I do think that he's the rightful favorite, but I wouldn't trust him at these odds, and I wouldn't be surprised if Court McGee was able to melt him late if he does make him work and he doesn't just get the opportunity to take the back and ride out rounds. So yeah, Chiesa's the pick, but I'm not happy about it. Moving up to the light heavyweight division, Paul Craig taking on Rodolfo Bellato. Possible underdog shot here. I like Craig, his ability to submit people. I think Bellato doesn't have the greatest fight IQ, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does accept going to the ground with Craig, even though I think he'd win, 10 out of 10 times if he just kept it on the feet and looked to work a jab, kind of put some pressure on him, not throw as many kicks, and avoid the mat at all costs. I think that it's almost a guaranteed win. Just not convinced that he's going to do that. And Paul Craig, we've seen it. He's, submitted the champion, Ankalaev, and I think he could submit anybody on the roster. So if Bellato's going to give him the fight that he wants, I'd be willing to look at the line that they give us on Craig's submission. But outside of that, I'm not really looking to play this fight any other way.
Yeah, pretty volatile fight. It's a rebooking, which I typically don't like to get involved in too much. I think Bellato could nuke him early, but at the same time, Bellato's shown that he can get hurt just as bad early in fights, both the Crude and Pateria fight. Do I think Craig really has that power or that striking? I don't. But, yeah, I mean, between getting hurt, the fight IQ, and as dangerous as Craig can be, yeah, I could never touch Bellato here, but not really interested in the Paul Craig side either. So I'll pick Bellato. I was looking at it earlier, the under 1.5. It's a pretty volatile, violent fight in my eyes, and 50% that it ends under 7.5 minutes. And I don't know. You could convince me that could be closer to, I don't know, 65%, honestly. Like I feel like it's a pretty violent fight. Just not really a fan of getting involved in the rebookings. Kicking off the main card at 205, Alonzo Menifield taking on Omar Sy. Line's kind of crazy. Menifield's pretty physical. Dude hits hard. On the inside, he's got the better pocket boxing. I think Omar Sy will be able to keep the fight at range and then level change when he needs to and put Menifield down. Trust his cardio a bit more. Pretty dangerous guy on top too, man. So, yeah, another big favorite. Probably won't have much action on it. Easy pass for me, but like Omar Sy inside the distance.
Yeah, all the same reasons, man. I'm not looking to take a shot on Menifield here. I think this is Omar Sy's time as far as career-wise. I think it's a pretty decent matchup for him, and I think he gets the job done. Not sure that he gets the finish, but, we've seen Alonzo Menifield been finished before, and I don't think that he's, going to change anything soon. I think that he's probably more likely to get finished or at least accept getting finished than he ever has been in his career. So, yeah, I understand the Sy shot. I understand maybe Sy inside the distance, but I think personally he's going to get it done by decision. Moving down to the middleweight division, Cody Brundage taking on Mansour Abdul Malik. If Brundage allows Malik to get to the positions he wants to, he does some pretty dangerous ground and pound. We've seen Brundage kind of shell up and not want to fight back, look for ways out. And, if he does that again on Saturday, he's going to be in for a long night. That being said, I think that Abdul Malik has some, shown some greenness in the past. And I think if this does go 3 rounds, we could, possibly see Brundage find some success. But I'm not sure that he's going to get there. So I do think that Abdul Malik, more likely than not, is going to find a finish in the early rounds.
When you bet Nick Klein, like plus 800, it's kind of hard to stay off of Cody Brundage plus 550, plus 600 because, I think the dude's got better skills than Nick Klein. But mentally, I don't think he has the skills of Nick Klein. I knew Nick Klein was going to fight for my dollar, wasn't going to look for a way out. You're going to have to put him out. And I can't say the same for Cody Brundage, man. There's been a couple times where I think he looks for a way out, and I think he's just got an absolute athletic specimen, just freak in front of him that hits harder than him, wrestles better than he does, and it's probably going to get on him early. So I like the Mansour Abdul Malik side. This is the other half of my parlay, under 1.5, minus 180. I think that should be sitting about minus 230. I like Abdul pretty early to get this fight done, and all of Cody's wins are early. So truth be told, he swings big. We've seen Mansour hurt, so could Cody win a decision? Sure, but I feel like a lot of his win equity is always early in fights. So, yeah, under 1.5 is how I kind of look to target when someone's a massive favorite like this and have big finish upside. Moving on up, Cody Garbrandt, Raoni Barcelos, men's bantamweight. I kind of feel like Cody's past it. Hard to say, but kind of looks like it. Durability not great, volume never great, but he does have big power. He does have really good footwork. He's a lot faster fighter, but it kind of feels like Barcelos in a big cage is going to be able to kind of skirt on the outside, avoid those big shots, put his volume together. He throws really good kicks. If anybody's grappling, clearly Raoni Barcelos to be the one to do so. So I don't know, man. I guess there's a world where if this Barcelos line continues to climb, it was like minus 140 to start the week. It's minus 205 at this point. So is there a world where I play Cody Garbrandt? Maybe small, but gun to the head, I think I got to ever so slightly pick Raoni Barcelos.
I think that this is a no-love spot or pass. I'm going to be passing on picking a side, but I do think this fight goes to decision. Barcelos, really tough to finish outside of Umar Nurmagomedov. And Cody Garbrandt, I think that he has good enough counter wrestling that even when Raoni Barcelos does get him down, he'll work his way back up to the feet. Garbrandt, pretty tough to submit. And And then if he does find success, I think he just keeps him on the outside and kind of works him. We've seen No Love in the past get some finishes, but I think he's much more, inclined to get a decision. I think Trevin Jones is I bet Garbrandt by decision at plus 500. And kind of looking at that spot again this week, or just fight goes to decision at plus money and try not to get cute. But yeah, I think this fight sees the judges' scorecards, and I think we're getting a pretty decent price tag on it too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Moving up to the middleweight division, Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Petroski. This is this is probably a pass line for me again. I was looking at Shabazian early props, and they're just not giving you much on him. I think picking round 1 TKO for him is still like 250 or worse, and that's just not enough for me to pick the round and the method. I think that's the most likely outcome. We've seen Petroski finished in the past by a lot of different ways, and Edmund Shabazian, for what it's worth, packs a punch. If it does go late, though, we've seen Edmund Shabazian melt, and I expect one of these guys to find a finish, whether it's Petroski late or Shabazian early. Let's see. Yeah, fight goes to decision, plus 190. Fight doesn't go, minus 260. This is probably just a layoff spot for me. Not really inclined to bet Petroski, and not really feeling that line for doesn't go.
So, man, I don't think Petroski's durability is really good at all, man. Aaron Jeffries doesn't really finish people. The Jacob Malkoun fight, I mean, goodness. The Michelle Pereira as well. And I don't know. I was kind of shocked to hear you say that minus 250 is not really a good number for you. I think of Edmund's 14 wins, 12 of them are by first round knockout. Combine that with Petroski's, durability, I thought it was a pretty good way to turn a 2-1 into a plus 250. So I was kind of hoping you might have liked that a little bit more.
It's minus 250.
But Edmund Shabazian, round 1 TKO plus 250.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the fight doesn't go to decision.
No.
I was like, that's minus 250.
Yeah, I think with as much as 12 of his 14 wins being by first round TKO, I thought plus 250 was pretty generous. And so that's something I hate to see you not liking as much as me, but I think that's how I see the fight going down, and something I've considered a small play on or something.
Okay.
Rose Namajunas, Miranda Maverick. Co-main event, man. I don't know if it's the most overwhelming co-main event here, but Rose Namajunas, I guess you could kind of say taking a big step down, in my opinion, taking on Miranda Maverick. Should Miranda Maverick grapple? Yeah, man, she should 100%. She's a more physical girl. I think she maybe has the better gas tank, but I've not been that impressed with Miranda Maverick. I think this fight could be very similar to the Tracy Cortez fight. And I think Tracy Cortez probably has a bit better wrestling and is at least more intentional with the wrestling. And so, Rose 100% has the advantages on the feet, and this just being 3 rounds, being the bigger name. I don't know how Miranda wins if she doesn't land multiple takedowns or rack up a lot of control. So, at plus 200 something, it kind of interested me, but I think I lean the Rose side, man. What about yourself?
I mean, I'm a little worried about Rose in this fight. Blanchfield, it's kind of tough to compare Miranda Maverick and Blanchfield, but Blanchfield had success early, and then Rose really pulled out those championship rounds in their last fight. And I think that Maverick could put together at least a similar game plan. When I look at what Maverick's losing to, it's all really physical girls. Jasmine Jasdavicius. I'm blanking on the other two, Erin Blanchfield and Macy Barber. Like, they're super physical girls. And I don't see that out of Rose Namajunas. I think if Miranda Maverick does get to her positions early in a 3-round fight, I do think that she could steal 2 rounds just simply off of boring cage control. And, Rose Namajunas, probably not in her best form as of late. I know Blanchfield's a really tough fight to, judge too much off of, but I don't really know what Thug Rose is fighting for at this point in her career. And I think Miranda has a lot more to push for at this point. So I think that the line's off is what I'm saying. I think Rose Namajunas obviously is a better MMA fighter, but as far as the line, I would be way more inclined to bet Miranda Maverick than throw Thug in a parlay or lay, a few units on her to win one back.
100% agree.
So moving to the main event of the night, Joaquin Buckley taking on Kamaru Usman. Both of us on Kamaru Usman, have him in the fantasy league. And, man, I'd like to see him go out there and do it one more time. People have been putting Buckley, in the new era of welterweights. And truth be told, like, I'm not that high on Buckley. I think he packs a lot of power and he's super physical, and that's worked out for him in a lot of the matchups. But Kamaru Usman might be exactly what we need to see for him to get exposed. What I am worried about is, where Kamaru Usman is at this point in his career. But if we're just judging off of MMA talent, I think Kamaru Usman has all of the upside here. As long as his body is healthy, I think that he could definitely, take this fight into deep waters and really start to wear on Buckley. And as long as he can hold up with his durability in the early parts of it, I could definitely see him taking over, probably by decision. And we see Buckley just complaining he can't get up. I could see him looking to the ref a lot more than he wants to because Kamaru's making this a Kamaru Usman fight. I'm happy to be on him at plus, forget what it was, plus 200 something. I think that it's a solid steal spot for somebody who, he had a few years off, and he's aging a little bit, but I think Kamaru Usman's a better fighter than Joaquin could ever hope to be.
Yeah, man. I think there's clear improvements from Buckley. I think he is better suited at 170. But yeah, I think the line's quite crazy. Kamaru Usman plus 220. I mean, dude, 2 years ago we're talking about one of the best fighters ever. We're talking about under a minute from Leon's championship, legacy run, whatever, never existing. And so I just feel like there's so much recency bias built into this one. How Joaquin's just looks so good beating guys like Wonder Boy, like Colby. Whereas Usman's like, he's made it, like I said, less than a minute from continuing to keep his belt. And then he's, he gets knocked out like very, very bad. And so you expect almost anybody to not be back the same, but a super quick turnaround in Leon's backyard for the next one. And then an extremely short notice 185 fight against Hamzat. I truly don't think the last two fights have been the Kamaru Usman that we're going to see on Saturday. I think he's a lot more prepared here. I think he's at his natural weight class. I think he has the ability to neutralize Buckley against the fence to put him down. Buckley's been knocked out like 4 times. I think Kamaru Usman's the more durable of the two as well, despite maybe not packing the power. I think he's a lot sharper with his punches, could meet Buckley down the middle, snipe him the same way like Curtis, like Kevin Holland did. And so, yeah, man, I thought plus 220 was nuts for a championship level fighter that I know I can trust all the way through 5 rounds. So on the Kamaru Usman side for a unit at plus 220, main events haven't been the kindest to me this year, but going back to the well this time. Not a guy I typically have bet a lot in Kamaru Usman, but hope he gets this one done. I'm pretty hesitant to put Buckley in the top welterweights myself. I saw 13 fights, man, going down to UFC Atlanta. I know we both already got a couple plays out, but again, make sure you keep an eye on Twitter the rest of this week for our plays. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.